Working hard in a gold mine is not easy. And when your neighbor ruins your hard work, it is impossible to control your anger. Something similar happened to Rick Ness in this season of Gold Rush. What everyone is trying to make their fortune, whether it is Parker Schnabel, who has already become a star in the industry, or the king of gold, Tony Beats, who was busy expanding his empire. Rick was determined to make a name for himself. After working under Parker for years, he set out to make his own way. But the journey was not so straightforward. The cold weather, icy winds, and the problems of heavy machinery are understandable. But this time the problem came due to human ingenuity. Imagine someone steals your most important mining suction line, that too alone from a neighboring site, and when it is returned it is in such a bad condition that it makes your blood boil. This is what happened to Rick. Overnight their machinery was tampered with, parts were broken, and work was bound to stop. Now the question is, who did this and why? Was it just personal animosity, or did someone try to send a clear message that stay away from this area? Some believe that the theft is just an excuse. In reality, the thief has taken something else which no one has any idea about. Rick now has two battles in front of him. One to get the gold, the other to solve this mystery. Gold Rush fans are saying that this time the matter is not limited to just gold. But there is something here that will be suppressed before it comes on camera. And perhaps this is the reason why you have to watch this whole story. So if you do not want to miss the next big discovery and the real truth, then subscribe to the channel now. When fans hear the name Rick Ness, Gold Rush fans think of a hard-working, stubborn, and never-say-die guy. But his story wasn't that simple. Rick's mining journey began with Parker Schnabel. Parker was a rising star in gold mining at the time, and Rick joined his crew as a machine operator. Rick didn't have much mining experience at first, but he had one thing in common: a passion for learning and a habit of working hard. While working with Parker, he not only learned how to operate machines, but also understood every aspect of gold mining: how to plan, how to manage a team, and most importantly, how to stay calm under pressure and make the right decisions. After working with Parker for several years, Rick began to dream of starting his own mining operation. He knew it wouldn't be easy. In gold mining, money, machines, location, and weather all have to work together. Otherwise, the entire season could be wasted. But Rick has always been a risk-taker. He was determined to make a name for himself no matter what. When Rick left Parker's crew to start his own operation, people both praised and doubted his courage. The first season saw him face many challenges. The machines broke down, the weather was not favorable, and the gold haul was not as much as expected. But Rick has one special quality: he doesn't give up easily. He learns from each failure and tries to make a better comeback the next season. In previous seasons, Rick has proven that he is not just Parker's sidekick, but a leader in his own right. His team hauled in a lot of gold, and his hard work was clearly visible on camera. Though there were always ups and downs, sometimes there was a shortage of money at the beginning of the season. Sometimes there were differences in the team. But Rick handled the situation every time with his passion and smart decisions. This background story of Rick makes today's theft even bigger. Because for a person who has built his operation with so much hard work, someone spoiling his hard work is not just a loss, it is a personal injury. This is the reason why this time Rick's attitude is going to be even more strict. The setting of the current season of Gold Rush. This season of Gold Rush was high tension from the start, and the main reason for this is the location of Yukon and Alaska. Mining here means fighting a daily battle with nature. The cold is so intense that your breath freezes, and the icy winds can shut down the machines in the blink of an eye. The summer season is short, and every day is precious for mining gold. As soon as the cold arrives, the ground freezes and the machines become useless, meaning the work stops completely. This is why each miner has only a few months in which they have to extract the year's gold haul. Gold prices are also fluctuating this season. When prices go up, the pressure on miners increases to extract as much gold as possible. But when prices fall, all the profits of the season are at risk. For Rick Ness, this pressure is double, as he is trying to build his operation completely, and every ounce of gold matters to him. Other big players are also in the fray this season. Parker Schnabel, as always, is moving ahead with his strong team and big projects. His machines, crew, and resources are on such a large scale that the competition becomes even more difficult for the other miners. Tony Beats, a gold mining veteran, is still in the fray with his old experience and perseverance. Tony's goal is not only to extract gold but also to expand his mining empire. In such an environment, every day is a new test for miners like Rick Ness, not only to extract gold, but also to maintain their identity. Full details of the theft incident. Now, let's come to the night that shook Rick Ness's season. This incident happened in the middle of the season when mining was at its peak. Every machine was running at full power and the team was working day and night to achieve the goal target. Then one night, everything changed. Someone sneaked into Rick's operation and stole his only suction line. This equipment is crucial to mining. It helps pump water and gravel to process the gold. Without it, the entire wash plant comes to a standstill. And most importantly, Rick had no backup, meaning his entire operation came to a standstill when it was stolen. The theft was so clever that no one noticed it at first. The next morning, when the crew returned to work, they found the machine down and the suction line missing. At first, they thought someone had taken it for maintenance. But when it returned a short time later, everyone was horrified to see the condition. The suction line was badly damaged, pipes torn, connections damaged, and many parts completely useless. Only Rick's team was on site at the time, but most people were sleeping when the incident occurred. 2 or 3 members of the night shift had seen some movement from a distance, but it was dark and far enough away that no one's face was clearly visible. The needle of suspicion quickly pointed towards the neighboring mining claim. The reason? Old grudges and petty arguments had happened before, and the atmosphere between the two teams was not very friendly. Rick was furious at that time. He knew that this was not a random theft. It was a direct message, as if someone wanted to tell him that this area is not yours or we want you out of here. And it is worth thinking about. Stealing such valuable and important equipment from someone and then returning it after breaking it. This cannot be done just for fun. There is either a deep personal enmity behind this or a big game plan. This incident not only stopped Rick's work, but also put his season's goal target at risk. In areas like Yukon and Alaska where every day is precious, the loss of even one day costs millions. And here the entire machine had stopped working, which was going to waste many days. Now, the biggest challenge for Rick and his team was how to recover from this loss and catch the thieves. The importance of equipment. Now, if you're even slightly familiar with the mining world, you know that the suction line is no ordinary pipe. It's the part of gold mining that is the heart of the entire process. It pumps heavy loads of water and gravel into the wash plant where the real deal begins, separating the gold from the rest of the debris. Without the suction line, the machines are just gathering dust. This was the only suction line in Rick's operation, and it was the only thing keeping the entire wash plant running. It's not cheap. High-quality suction line can cost thousands of dollars. And if you're sourcing it in remote areas like the Yukon or Alaska, there's the cost of transportation and time. On top of that, it's also time-consuming to install as it involves setting pressure, tightening connections, and fitting it to the machine. If this equipment breaks down or goes missing, mining comes to a screeching halt. And in a real-time season like Gold Rush, where every day means thousands of dollars worth of gold, even a single day's loss can be costly. In Rick Ness's case, the situation was even more critical. One was the peak of the season and the other was his only suction line. If it went out, the entire operation would come to a halt. And this is not a wait and fix it later thing. This is a situation where time is money and lost time means lost gold. Degree of loss. If it had been just a theft, the matter would have ended there. But the real shock came when the suction line was recovered and in a condition that made Rick's blood boil. The pipe was torn in several places, the connections were badly damaged, and some parts were beyond repair. It seemed as if it had been deliberately targeted to make it completely useless. Now the question arises, why was there a need for such sabotage? If someone just wanted to steal it, they could have taken it and sold it somewhere or used it for their own work. But sending it back that too damaged seems to be a direct message, as if someone is trying to say we can do it, and if it hits again it will be even worse. When the broken suction line was brought to the site, The entire team was shocked and angry. Some people stood silently as if they could not believe that someone could fall so low. The rest immediately started thinking about repairs, but soon realized that this was not an easy task. Getting the right parts for repairs in Yukon is a challenge in itself, and ordering new parts can take weeks. Rick did not have that much time. Rick himself was very angry after seeing this condition. For him, this was not just the breakdown of a machine, it was an attack on his hard work and dignity. He knew that such a loss in the middle of the season meant falling far short of the gold target, and if the target was missed, it would not only affect this year, but also the coming seasons, because the trust of investors and supporters would be shaken. The atmosphere within the team also changed after this incident. Earlier, where everyone was focusing on extracting gold, now everyone had only one question in their mind: who did this? And was along with work the security of the site and monitoring of every move of the neighboring miners began. Rick also made it clear that this time he would not sit quiet, and whoever is behind this he would bring him in front of the camera. Relationships with neighboring miners. Now in the mining community, being a neighbor doesn't always guarantee friendship. The relationships between Rick Ness and his neighboring miners was similar. Neither entirely friendly nor entirely hostile, but with sparks every now and then. In the beginning, when Rick set up his operation, it was just a normal hello with the neighboring site. People on both sides were busy with their own work. But as the season progressed and the pressure for gold increased, small disputes began to surface. Sometimes it was arguments over water use, sometimes conflicts over border lines, sometimes fights over the path of trucks and machinery. In places like the Yukon and Alaska, where every inch of land can be worth millions, these conflicts are common. There were also some old stories that kept circulating among the team, like one time when Rick's team thought a neighbor had deliberately changed the water flow, causing their wash plant to shut down for a day. Although the matter was hushed up at the time, some team members still believed that this was no accident. Even more spicy things were circulating in the local gossip. People around said that the neighboring miners were jealous of Rick's success. Some claimed that there was always an air of unspoken competition between the two sites. Who would mine more gold? Who would have a bigger machine and whose season would be seen more on TV? Trust becomes difficult in such an environment. Whom did the needle of suspicion point to? After the incident of theft and vandalism, the first question that arose within the team was who did this, and almost everyone's first answer was the number. The reason was clear: old grudges, recent disputes, and the strange tension that always remained between the two sites. This was discussed openly in the team meetings. Some people said that this could be the work of a local thief who targets mining sites, but most believed that targeting such a specific machine and then returning it damaged was the work of someone who understood mining well, and neighboring miners were high on that list. Some strange things also came to light after the incident. For example, on the night of the theft, movement was seen at the neighboring site, even though their work was officially closed at that time. A crew member said that he had seen some headlights and shadows from a distance moving around Rick's site. It was difficult to identify clearly due to the darkness and distance, but the timing and location strengthened the suspicion. Some suspicious movement was also captured on camera. The Gold Rush production crew, which was nearby, checked some footage and found that someone had spent a few minutes near Rick's wash plant in the middle of the night. The footage did not have a clear face or details, but the silhouette and style of clothing resembled a worker from the neighboring site. The neighbors' behavior was also strange the next day. Where they would usually greet each other early in the morning that day, they avoided eye contact. Some even avoided direct eye contact, and one Rick's team made light of the matter. The answers were evasive. All these reasons convinced the team that the neighboring site was behind this theft. Although concrete evidence was not yet available in a cutthroat industry like gold mining, suspicions quickly turned into convictions. And for Rick, this was not just suspicion. It was a direct attack on his hard work, resources, and dignity, which he was not going to let go without answering. Signing community environment. The world of gold mining is as glamorous and exciting from the outside as it is tough and full of politics from the inside, especially in places like Yukon and Alaska, where the mining season is short, every day is precious and every machine, Every part has its own importance. There is a strange unspoken code among the miners here: help each other if needed, but also keep an eye on your gear because not everyone can be trusted. Sometimes miners borrow equipment from each other. This is fine as long as it is clean. Borrow after asking the owner and return in the same condition. But sometimes this borrowing turns into stealth theft, and when the owner finds out, things get heated. There have been many incidents in earlier seasons where one team used the equipment of another team and then there were fights in front of the camera. In some cases, the reality was far worse than what was shown on TV. These incidents have created a permanent trust issue in the mining community. You laugh and talk to your neighbor, but you also wonder if you will find your machine or part there the next morning if you leave it unattended. Ness had the same situation, being cautious of neighbors, but not openly hostile. This balance is very delicate, and one wrong move can break the entire relationship. Rick's confrontation and reaction. After the theft and vandalism incident, the biggest question for Rick was whether to go straight to the neighbor or gather evidence first. Rick is a straightforward person, but this time the matter was very personal. He knew that if he made an angry accusation and the other person denied it, things could get out of hand. Still, within a few days, he decided it was necessary to confront him. The camera crew was also ready to capture the moment. Rick arrived at the neighbor's camp with two of his trusted team members. Initially, they spoke in a calm tone. Someone stole our suction line and it came back, but in a bad condition. Do you know anything? The neighbor's answer was evasive. We don't know anything. Maybe some local did it. But Rick could clearly see the hesitation in his eyes and body language. He was avoiding direct accusations, but there was a kind of discomfort in his gestures, as if he knew what the reality was. On camera, Rick kept himself under control. He just said that if it happened by mistake, then he wanted a solution through talks. But off camera, among the team, he clearly said, "These people are fooling us. They know what happened. They are just not speaking." Rick's anger was justified. Not just the machine was lost, but his hard work, his time, and his trust had been attacked. And that too at a time when every hour of the season matters. His team also supported his reaction. Everyone felt that if strict action was not taken this time, then someone could do the same to him in the future. This incident completely changed the neighborly relationship. What was just a mild tension earlier now turned into open distrust. Rick was now fighting not only for his goal target but also for the dignity and security of his site. The role of the Gold Rush production team. Gold Rush is not just a mining operation but the TV show, and that means camera crews are always around. Even on the night of the robbery and break-in, part of the production team was active in the Yukon. They have access to cameras, drones, and security footage for night shoots. After the incident, Rick and his team hoped that the camera crew might have captured something, and indeed, there were some interesting things in the footage, like strange movement near the wash plant late at night and glimpses of someone walking around with a light that resembled a handheld flashlight. Though the footage wasn't clear, the timing and location got everyone thinking. This is where the suspense gets a little more intense. Rick suspected that the production team had more footage, but due to editing in the show's dramatic timeline, not everything would be shown on air. TV shows often make decisions like this. Some things are hyped up, others are suppressed so that the story can move forward season. According to some team members, what the production crew saw could possibly identify a face or clothes. But when Rick directly asked if they had more footage, he was told, "What we can show depends on the format of the show and legal permission." This answer seemed half true and half evasive. For the audience, there was only a little suspense and drama on TV, but in real life, Rick and his team felt that the real story was captured on camera. It was just not released. And if this is true, then the question arises, why was this a game of TRP of the show or an attempt to suppress some big controversy? Discussion within the team. After this incident, the atmosphere in Rick's camp changed completely. Earlier, that discussions that used to happen only on gold targets and machine repair now started happening on security and suspicion. Team members were gathering in small groups and sharing their theories. Some people believed that this was not just a theft, but a clear message. Someone did this to show that they can weaken Rick's operation and to scare him. One crew member even said, These people are testing us. Wants to see how we will react. If we keep quiet, they can cause even bigger damage next time. Other members said that perhaps this is a natural part of the gold mining business where competition is so tough that people do not hesitate to use dirty tricks. But what was troubling everyone was that this incident happened only after old disputes with the neighboring site, and the timing was also strange. When Rick's season was at its best phase, Rick himself was clear about this thing from within. He should not take this incident lightly. He called a meeting with the team and said, "From now on, the strategy has to change. We will not only focus on the gold haul, but will also focus equally on the security of the site." He immediately took some new decisions like keeping extra guards near the machines on night shifts, installing cameras all around the site, and keeping an eye on the movements of the numbers. Also, he motivated the team to take this incident as a lesson, not a defeat. The team supported Rick's decision, but deep inside, everyone knew that the real answer will be found only when it is known who did this. And this suspense makes this whole story even more intense because till now it was not clear whether the real culprit will come on camera or will remain behind the scene. Theories and speculation. After the theft and vandalism, Rick Ness's team was constantly wondering who did this and why. No one had an answer, but there was no shortages of theories. The first and most straightforward theory was personal animosity. In the mining industry, it's easy to make enemies when you get in someone's way, especially when your success is a thorn in the side of others. Rick had had previous conflicts with neighboring miners over water use, truck routes, and even gold claims. Several team members believed that this old tussle had now turned into open warfare. The second theory was a bit more subtle, a ploy to take over a site. Mining claims in the Yukon and Alaska are more valuable than gold. If a miner is unable to operate his site, he waits for another opportunity to take over. If Rick's operation comes to a halt during peak season, a neighbor or another claimant could try to claim it. So, was this theft just the first step in a bigger move? The third theory added more mystery to the story, an attempt to hide a bigger secret. Some on the team suggested that perhaps the neighboring site had discovered something in their area that they wanted to hide, be it gold, an old mining structure, or something else that would change history. And Rick's site or machinery was interfering with their plans. In such a case, breaking Rick's machinery could be an easy way to slow him down. No one knew which of these theories was true, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just a theft. There was a game plan behind it, and Rick was now caught in the middle of that game. Economic impact. Now, let's talk about the part that hurts mining operations the most. Money. Repairing the suction line was no small expense. It would cost thousands of dollars to order a new line, and in a location like the Yukon, delivery times could be weeks. Repair was an option, but it was expensive and time-consuming. For Rick, this was not just an expense, but also a loss of time. In gold mining, every day meant a lot of work. How many hours the machine ran, how much gravel was processed, and how many ounces of gold were extracted. Every hour the machine stopped meant a loss of gold production, and no one could compensate for this loss because as soon as the season ended, the snow freezes and mining stops. The effect of this on deadlines was clearly visible. Gold targets that seemed within reach earlier now moved further away. The team knew that every day's delay meant a loss of thousands of ounces of gold at the end of the season, and given the current price of gold, this loss was in the millions of dollars. This economic pressure further increased the tension within the team. The focus that was previously solely on extracting gold was now split between repairs, security, and making up for lost time. Rick not only had to fix the machine, but also keep the team's morale high because if morale dropped, it would be impossible to save the season. Rick also knew that the loss was bad news for investors and supporters. Mining is not just about fame and adventure. It's a business, and in business, numbers matter. If the target wasn't met, both funding and support for the next season could be at risk. So, the impact of the theft and vandalism wasn't limited to just one machine. It was a direct blow to the entire operation, the team's psyche, and Rick Ness's gold rush career. And now Rick had only two choices. Either finish the season with this loss or try to regain the target with double the hard work and smart strategy. Further investigation and plans after the theft and vandalism, Rick Ness made it clear he was not going to just sit and wait. First, he called an emergency meeting with the team to decide the next steps. Rick's next move was to keep the operation going while also getting to the culprit. He tightened security twice as much as before. Extra guards were posted at the site at night. Cameras were installed near every machine and storage area, and motion sensor lights were installed all around. Now, no one could enter the site without notice. Rick also planned to keep an eye on the neighboring sites. Instead of an open confrontation, he wanted to collect evidence so that if the matter reached the legal or official channels, he would have a solid basis. He also told the production team to keep any more footage safe, as it could be useful later on. The planning included having the rest of the team focus on other tasks while the machine was being repaired, such as cleaning the site, maintaining other parts of the wash plant, and clearing the gold processing backlog. Rick knew every minute was precious and any carelessness at this point could spell the end of the season. Rick Ness's story doesn't end here. This episode of theft and vandalism is just the beginning. What happens next is the real drama. Who is the person who so cleverly targeted his machine? Is it a worker from a neighboring site, or is there something deeper to the matter? An upcoming episode of Gold Rush may reveal the mystery. Maybe the cameras captured something that has been hidden so far, or Rick himself will gather evidence and expose the culprit. One thing is for sure, this fight is no longer just for gold, but also for dignity and rights.